Hey, shout out to everybody listening right now. Welcome to the Khaliis Take family. If you're not already a part of it, please join. If you're not, like, subscribe, leave any comments. I always appreciate any comments left. I always try to respond if I can, and I try to keep the family orientedness going so we can keep building every day. So subscribe if you haven't, and let's just keep it going. But if you haven't seen the post that was already posted, we'll be expanding the channel. In regards to other topics we'll be talking about, starting on the next videos that I make, so we'll just going to expand from there. We'll still be talking about the same topics as well. We'll still have those in there, but we're going to expand a little bit more and grow this thing as far as we can, as high as we can go. And we're going to keep it going. We're going to keep building. So I appreciate everything you've done up to this point. All your comments, continue to do them, continue to leave them, continue to let me know what you think about any topic that I put out there. And we can go from there. Till next time. So Paul Pierce, was on KG's Kevin Garnett, KG Certified show here lately, and he spoke about Kawhi Leonard, and the one thing he chimed in on was how Kawhi is not held responsible for his injuries the way is not held accountable for his injuries the way they go at Anthony Davis about his. Now, I wanted to chime on this because I'll say this much. First of all, I'll say this. Kawhi Leonard is a better player than Anthony Davis when healthy, to me. They can say Anthony Davis is a top 5 player, all this stuff they were saying a few years ago. He's not a top 5 player. He is a top 5 talent, but he's not a top 5 player because he can't carry a team. He would not have a championship if it wasn't for LeBron James and the Lakers. LeBron was the best player on that team. And honestly, LeBron still is the best player on that team. And really, he shouldn't even be the best player on that team because really, Anthony Davis should have took that over by now because LeBron been wanting to give him the keys to the city. He just isn't healthy enough to do it. And not even only that, he doesn't play good enough to be the number one guy on a team. He doesn't play with that same aggression. And when we look at Kawhi Leonard, it's a whole different atmosphere. We saw Kawhi Leonard just a couple seasons ago with Toronto put a team on his back and go all the way to the finals and beat a Warriors team that was wounded at some point, but they still had Klay Thompson and Stephen Curry for 3 or 4 games out of that series, which nobody talks about, which they still could have won because those two are the Splash Brothers, right? And KD only played like 10 minutes of game like 5 or 6 of that series. He was out the whole series, but still, when you got the Splash Brothers, that's still 2-on-1. That's still a handicap match. That's still 2 star players versus 1 in Kawhi Leonard on a Toronto team that nobody even picked to go to the finals. And Kawhi finds himself winning a finals over Steph and beating the Warriors and stopping that dynasty once and for all, which he would have did in 2017, I think, unless Zaza Pachulia stepped on his foot and ended that series. So my point is this: when you can't really compare Anthony Davis to Kawhi Leonard because Kawhi is a better player, and Kawhi has always been known for load managing. I mean, first of all, when he came into the league, load management was his thing. I mean, because Greg Popovich basically taught him to do that. He showed him to do that through Manu Ginobili and Tim Duncan and Tony Parker. That was their method of getting through the season, just making through the season as much as you can and go in the playoffs and go out there and kill every opponent that steps in front of you. That's Greg Popovich's motto, and that's what Kawhi Leonard is always abide by because Greg Popovich helped Kawhi Leonard become the player that he is now, and the Spurs organization helped him become the player that he is now. He won a championship with the Spurs. He won a Finals MVP. Then he follows it up by himself without the Spurs, without the system, and goes to Toronto and wins the Finals MVP and wins another championship to let everybody know he's not a system player. And that's really what made him broad. That made him step out of his own skin or his own shell and turn into the superstar player that he became. And he still is a superstar player. And the reason why I think, Anthony Davis should not be mentioned in the same breath with Kawhi Leonard because he never can carry a team. He never stays healthy. He gets injured from game to game. And Anthony Davis injuries are different. He has little knick-knack injuries that just build up over time. Like from week to week, Anthony Davis might mess up his knee, might tweak his ankle, this, that. I mean, it's like he's never there when you need him to be. And then on top of that, with Anthony Davis, when you need him to really show up and play against the top competition makes him look average. Like when he plays, like I can remember a game last year, they played against the Timberwolves. Karl Anthony Towns was basically making Anthony Davis look like he shouldn't even been in the NBA league, or he shouldn't even got drafted. Karl Anthony Towns made him look like he was a nobody. And he was up there making gestures, talking about he's too small, he's too little for me, and all these type things. Anthony Davis can't get dominated by people like that if you want to be a top 5 player or looked at as a top 5 player in this league. You got to go out there and put your foot on their neck and show no mercy when you're on that court. And he just doesn't have that dog in him like Kawhi Leonard has. And that's to me, that's the biggest difference. Anthony Davis has got more talent in some people's eyes than a Kawhi Leonard, but he doesn't have more determination than a Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard started out not as a scorer, just a defensive guy, turned himself into a 30-point scorer, 2-time MVP, two-time Finals MVP, 2-time NBA champion. He was already a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, his defense was meddlesome at one point. I mean, now I would say it's more than adequate. It's really good. It's borderline great, but he doesn't use it as his superpower that much anymore because he can score now. He can put up 30 points a game efficiently on top of that. So, I mean, you know, his defense went down a little bit over the years because he's focusing more on his offense, which granted, that's how it's supposed to go if you're an offensive guy now. So we all get that. But my point is, Anthony Davis, when he is on the court, he doesn't have that dog in him like he should to be a dominant player. Like when I look at Giannis is a dominant player. Giannis doesn't have a jump shot like Anthony Davis. He can't shoot threes like Anthony Davis. But what makes him a better player than Anthony Davis, he got that dog in him. He got that dominance in him. So even if somebody like Giannis hypothetically was injury prone, whenever he does get back on the floor, you know what you're getting out of him. You're getting dominance. You're getting somebody that's going to go out there and put the team on his back if he got to help his team win. And that's the mentality that Kawhi Leonard has. That's the reason why a lot of people don't, say anything about Kawhi Leonard as much as they say about Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is a number 2 player. Kawhi Leonard is a number 1 on a team type player. Now, of course, there could be Paul Pierce could be right about some of the things he said, in regards to Kawhi Leonard. He said he thinks there's a long-term effect with Kawhi Leonard's knees. And that's possibly so. I mean, Kawhi Leonard's had, knee issues for a while, for like about 5 or 6 seasons at least, the last 5 or 6 years, maybe even a little bit longer. But at the same time, it didn't stop him from winning championships. It didn't stop him from being a number 1 player on a team. It didn't stop him from, making this team look like a contender, because everybody know when Kawhi is healthy, he's in the same category with LeBron's and KD's and being the top players in the league. He's in that category. It's no doubt when he's healthy, because everybody know what he can do. He can really literally carry a team. He can really put a team on his back, because we've seen him do it. And a lot of people will say things bad about Kawhi, but we know about his load managing. He's been load managing since he's been on the Spurs. He's been load managing since he's been in basketball, since he's been drafted to the NBA. The Spurs have always load managed their players, and that's the only thing that he knows. He knows how to be that way because that's who he is. He is going through injuries. He is hurt. Kawhi Leonard's not load managing and not hurt at all. He does have knee issues. He's had knee issues throughout his career. So he's not load managing as in like just taking off games because, he's 100% healthy. I mean, hell, you hear players say all the time, nobody's 100% healthy going into any NBA season. When you're playing in the NBA, you're not healthy. You're not 100% healthy ever once you get injured. NBA players say this all the time in interviews, no matter what it is. They say these things all the time, because it's so true. You're never 100% healthy once you get a major injury, or once you get several, little small injuries, or whatever the case may be. Once you get them back to back, you're never 100% healthy, because you're putting your body through so much pain and so much exertion of force and energy just to be out there, just to play at a high level and to be at this level playing in the NBA. You're never healthy 100% ever again. A lot of players have said that, and I definitely always believe that, because there's no way you play 82 games and then go in a 7-game series in the playoffs. And then a lot of those players, they play in the Olympics in the off season. So they're playing basketball then. They're actually conditioning their body and playing at a high level in the Olympics, even in the off season. And then you come back in the regular season and do it all over again. So my point is, a lot of players are never healthy as soon as they get injured for the first time. They're never healthy ever again. So, I mean, we could say this about a lot of players, but to me, there's really no comparison between Kawhi Leonard and Anthony Davis. One has carried a team. One has really put a team on his back and won a championship. The other one was reluctant to be picked by LeBron James to be on his team, and that's the only championship he's ever won. Might be the only championship he ever will win unless somebody else possibly do it for him, because obviously he can't be a number one guy because either injuries hold him back, and when he's on the floor, he just doesn't have that dog in him, that dominance in him to make an impact on the floor where he gets respected in that light. You see what I'm saying? So because he doesn't have that dog and that dominance and that aura that a main guy should have on a team, he's always going to be susceptible to more memes, more people talking against Anthony Davis in that type of way, because he was expected to be something that he never became. One thing about Kawhi Leonard, the biggest difference about him, he was never expected to be something that he became. He just became something more than people expected, and that's the difference. You see, so when you look at a player like him, it resonates different. Like, he comes from Popovich and the Spurs, where load managing is something that they taught him to do. So it's like, if that's all he's ever going to do is load manage, who the hell should be surprised by now? He came in the league learning that way, and he learned that way, and he won championships that way. Not one championship by luck. He won 2 championships. When you win multiple championships, you can't say somebody won by luck. You can't even say he won by luck off of one championship, but he really solidified himself by winning that second one. Now, I just personally think, with the Clippers, bad luck has happened with this team over the last 4 seasons they've been together, him and PG. Health issues. It wasn't Kawhi being hurt, it was PG being hurt. And if it wasn't one of them being hurt, it was both of them being hurt. So, I mean, it's just bad luck happening with this team so far, in their journey, but their journey can actually turn around this season. I know Kawhi Leonard's not playing as much as people will want him to. I'm pretty sure he wants to be out there more than even the fans want him to, but, he's trying to him and Paul George are trying to break the curse of this team throughout the years of not winning a championship, and it's going to be awfully tough. People got to understand that. That's the reason why this team never won a championship in team history, because it's just one of those teams that wasn't meant to win back in the day. And these two guys are doing their best to break that curse, but a lot, it just comes with that. I don't know. It's weird. It's superstitious. I don't know. But it's like when you're on certain teams, maybe life just seems to be easier. I don't know what it is. I mean, it's hard to win on the Clippers. I mean, think about it. When Chris Paul was on the Clippers, he could not get them to the NBA Finals to save his life. And he had a healthy Blake Griffin, a superstar Blake Griffin himself, and a DeAndre Jordan that was good on defense. But now that he's on the Suns, okay, last year, year before last, he makes it to a finals with a young Devin Booker. I mean, it's just very hard to win in this league is my point. So when you're in situations like this, with Kawhi Leonard and, Paul George, yeah, they both could be injury prone, but it's hard to carry a team and really, put a team on your back and win a championship. And like I said, Kawhi is doing the best he can. Right now, his body is not, is failing him a little bit for the moment. But I mean, as I said, he's progressing. He's made it through the ACL part. Now he's just trying to really get himself back into rhythm and shape. And me personally, I think, with Kawhi Leonard, it really might have something to do with his weight, because Kawhi gained all that weight in the offseason and stuff like that. And now that weight is starting to put a little toll. It's starting to put some pressure on that knee now that he's doing more conditioning and running and playing real NBA games instead of just playing in practice and stuff. And when he started playing real NBA games about a week or two, when the beginning of the season, it really, put more pressure on his knee because, like I said, all the weight that he gained. So I feel like, Kawhi, if he sheds a few of those pounds and kind of get back to the size that he was and playing at that level, I think he'll be fine. I just think he needs to drop a few pounds, condition a little bit more, and put less pressure on that knee and, do the things that he's used to doing and going out there and dominating the way that he does. So I think everything will be fine. But between him and Anthony Davis, I just think there's a mile milestone difference. Anthony Davis is not in the same class as Kawhi Leonard, so he shouldn't be looked at in the same light. But the fact that he's not living up to the expectation of what was set for him, that's a lot different. Kawhi has actually exceeded expectations for himself, because nobody saw Kawhi Leonard being a 2-time MVP of the finals. Nobody saw that, because didn't nobody think he can even score points back in the day. He was all defense. So he's already exceeded his expectations. Anthony Davis hasn't even come close to his. He can't even be the number one guy on his team. They still got LeBron being the number one guy, and he's so drawn out and tired and getting injury prone now himself, because he just can't carry a team as he used to. And he's waiting for Anthony Davis to do it, but Anthony Davis just not able to do it, or he's just not good enough to do it. I don't know what it is, but he just can't live up to expectation, and that's the difference. Kawhi's already exceeded his. He can't. Anthony Davis can't live up to his. That's why Anthony Davis looked at his street clothes, when he's injured, and Kawhi Leonard's just looked at his load management when he's injured. But hey, that's my take on everything. Leave any comments in the comment section. Check out my other videos if you haven't. And hey, till next time.